Hi guys. So I'm sitting in my workshop and I know that I said that I would post every day, but I was kind of struggling because I just wanted to be righteous about this and I wanted it to be under God's guidance. So I had to pray the last couple of days on how I share everything that has happened and what's going on and what I have learned. And God just said, you know what, just tell your story. So I'll start with my story. It was about 2.5 years ago. Now, mind you, we lost someone to cancer about 10 years ago. So that really made us proactive as far as God was concerned. We had God in our life, but it made us turn to Him even more. And so, and it really put us on this path to natural cures and different routes than what most people were taking. And so it's funny because I had different people in my life since that time that had got cancer. And there was one in particular, it was in February, right before I found out I had cancer, and that was I found cancer in April. And so in February, one of my friends I was reading on Facebook, she had got diagnosed with cancer. And when I was reading her posts, you know, she said that she was going to go all natural, that she wasn't going to do Western conventional medicine. And I thought, you know what, right on. And I contacted her and I said, you know, I have been preaching this to people for years, but everybody thought I was crazy. And I told her that, you know, anything that she needed help with, that I could help her with. Well, see, the funny thing is about that, I'm going to pause right there, is that you think you know stuff, but it's not till you experience it that you actually know stuff. And so I thought I knew a lot about cancer from what my family and I had gone through. And I thought that I had knew about different treatments, but I was so uneducated and almost ignorant to the fact. And here I thought I knew stuff. And so back to the story, I remember taking her different stuff when I was in Phoenix. And I remember standing there talking to her, and I told her, I said, you know, I pray that I never get cancer to ever have to prove the point that I've been saying for years. And it was really tragic to me because I left her that day, and it was shortly after that that I had read that she had started chemo and radiation. And so she went completely opposite of what her and I had talked about, what she said she had prayed about. So my heart broke. And so I remember praying to God, you know, for her and guidance through this. And so my sister and I had went to Australia, and we got back in April, and I was on a motorcycle ride with some friends, and it was the craziest thing. I had pulled my braid out from underneath my shirt, and I felt this lump, and I thought, what the heck, you know? And then I was like, could this be cancer? You know? And I was like, but it was a tiny little pea-sized thing. And so it kind of sat in my head for a little bit, but then I just kind of blew it off. So then, you know, a lot of things had happened. My dad got sick in May. He passed away. I left a job that I really loved. And then my little sister calls me in June. And she tells me, she's all, hey, Ann, she's all, I don't want you to freak out, but she's all, it's a good possibility I have cancer. And so I just lost it. And so I remember getting on my knees because my sister was going to do chemo and radiation and have a mastectomy because that's all she knew. That's all that most people know. And so I just remember getting on my knees and I was like, God, I was all, please let whatever this is in my breast be cancer. Please do not let my sister have it. If she has it, please give it to me and let me carry this. Because I had lost a sister. It's now been 5 years ago, which I'll get into that later on with more videos. But I remember telling God, you know, I had just lost a sister and I'm the oldest sister, and that crushed me. And so I couldn't lose another one. So I said, please let me carry this burden. Let me be the one that goes through this. And the crazy thing about it is, I go and have a test shortly after I had prayed. And they said it was just something odd. It didn't have the characteristics of cancer. They wanted to set me up for a 3D ultrasound in Phoenix. And so here I have this going on, but I was more worried about my sister. And so she goes in and has some tests done, and all of a sudden it was a freak thing. She doesn't have cancer. Whatever she was going on with her was completely gone. And I remember thanking God so much that she didn't have it. So little time passed. My sister goes to this 3D ultrasound with me in Phoenix. Now, mind you, in 3 months, this had went from the size of a pea to, I want to say, a little bit bigger than one of those large marbles or a gumball. So it had grown that fast in that short a period of time. So we go to this ultrasound. They pull it up. Same thing. No, it doesn't have the characteristics of cancer, but it's very weird. It's almost got like its own form, like human form, you know? And so I blew it off. And so I was like, I'm not going to worry about it. You know, my sister doesn't have cancer, so we're not going to worry about this. So they did want to remove it. I was living in Arizona. My husband and my my boys were living in Wyoming. And so it was still sitting in the back of my mind, you know, what if I have cancer? What if this is cancer? What if the tests are all wrong? And the whole time I prayed to God. And so we made a choice to give up our home in Arizona. We sold everything, got rid of everything, and packed my little girl and my other son up, and we made this erratic, spontaneous move to Wyoming. And so I was here for about 2 weeks, and so that's in August, end of August. I make an appointment with a doctor, and I told him, we were talking about some other treatments that I was getting for headaches and stuff. And I said, hey, you know, I got this thing like growing inside of me, and has no characteristics of cancer, you know, but what do you think? And he's like, I said, you want to do a biopsy on it? And he's like, you know, why don't we just pull it out? So I was for it, but then again, I was like, you know, maybe we should pull it out. Now, mind you, at this time, it's about the size of a golf ball. It's huge. It's like protruding out of me. And so we make this in-office visit, and my husband and everything, we go to this visit, and they numb me up Well, they couldn't numb me up enough. So here I am sitting in this office. They're cutting and burning on me. I'm starting to feel everything. So about the last half hour of this procedure of cutting this out, I feel everything. And so when he pulls it out, the doctor had like this expression on his face. And so I was like, can I see it? Like, I want to see what this thing was that was growing inside of me. And he's all, no, like, I need to send this off right away. And he's like, well, I'll call you. So I was like, okay. And so, it was about a week later, I get a phone call. They have my results back. They need me to come. And this is, an hour and a half away. So I drive, and, I'm sitting in the doctor's office, and, the doctor tells me, he's like, Angela, I hate to break this to you, but you have breast cancer. And it's triple negative. It's very aggressive. We need to set you up immediately for chemo and radiation. And we need to set you up for another surgery to go in there and clean the area so we can get good markers. And I remember sitting there, and for a brief moment, it like took the wind out of my sail. But then when my husband and I were driving, he said, Angela, remember the prayer you prayed. He's all, God's going to get you through this. He's all, you prayed for this, not just for your sister, but you prayed for this for so many other women. And so I had like this calmness about me. And I knew that God was going to get me through this. And so that's the prayer. Another prayer I prayed is I told God, I said, God, help me help other women. And I said, if you get me through this, if you show me what I need and you help me get me through this, I promise you that I will preach your name off the rooftops, and I will give glory to you. And no matter how many times I'm shunned, I will continue preaching your name and preaching how you helped me. So we set up arrangements for me to have surgery. Now, mind you, I am anti cut your body open. I am anti having surgeries if you know you have cancer. There's so many side effects to opening your body up and exposing that area to exposing that area. So now I had just let this doctor cut this thing out of me that we thought wasn't cancer, and it's a full-blown tumor. And so now wasn't just going to be cut open that one time to pull it out. Now they want to cut me open again to go in there and clean up all of this mess that this doctor had done in an in-office visit. And so I told my husband, I'm like, this is everything that we're like against. This is like everything. And he's like, God's going to get you through this. Don't worry. Just let the doctors go in and clean this up. God's got you covered. So I was like, okay. So we go in, they do the surgery, and it was horrible. They injected me with things that they injected me with irradiation because they wanted to see my lymph nodes. And I am telling you right now, I've had 7 children. I would rather give birth to 7 more children than is to ever have that done ever again. And no woman should ever have to go through that, to be injected like that with this dye so that they can see there's other ways. That was the most excruciating pain. And I remember being in there cussing at them like a sailor and thinking and telling them this is bullcrap. Why would any woman have to go through this? Why would any woman have to endure this pain? Not only endure that pain, but be cut open. And it's so... But God's like, Angela, I need you to go through this. You need to feel this. You need to go through this. You need to know. So they shot me up with this stuff so they could see my lymph nodes. They take me into surgery. They pull me out. They all of a sudden tell me I have this appointment with an oncologist and I have an appointment with the radiologist. And I'm like, I don't want chemo and radiation. I'm declining. The doctor, female doctor, she's all, will you just at least talk to them? And I was like, I'll talk to them for your sake because you're asking me to. But I said, it doesn't change my mind in the aspect of I'm not going to do radiation and chemo. And so they set me up an appointment with an oncologist and a radiologist. And a week later, I went and saw him. So I'm going to end that here. And so tomorrow I will talk about my appointment with the oncologist and the radiologist. So just always keep faith and say your prayers and never give up hope.